refer to physioaesthetic therapy. That's pelvic floor therapy. Now, that can be done by my nurse practitioner, Dr. Francis, who comes in and just basically finds out what may be hurting, what may be tender, what may need to be stretched a little bit. Or it can be a formal evaluation and multiple treatments with a dedicated physical therapist. I say dedicated physical therapist because many pretend to say that they know how to treat these problems, but there are actually only a few in our town that are able to do these very well. And they're experts at it. They've taken additional training, but most importantly, they take a special interest in treating pelvic floor problems because the ability to get in and help a woman relax those muscles when they've been tight for months or years due to pain on intercourse is a very special program that takes a long time and a dedicated provider. Many times we can get things softer, but ultimately a vaginal dilator is necessary to get enough caliber to have intercourse. And as I said earlier, don't keep trying. The only thing that's going to lead is more pain, more muscle spasm, and that leads to a lack of desire. So what I call conceptual therapy has to do that we really need to draw in other aspects of our sexuality after a time. When our own initiative desire and our hot and heavy chemicals are not circulating through our brain, what we need to do is not just bring the mind in, not just bring in the body, not just bring in the spirit, but incorporate all of those. So for us, many times it's just showing you your parts. I'm surprised at how many women have never looked at their bottoms. They don't know where their clitoris is. They don't know where their vaginal opening is. And to let them know, and let them know that it's okay to explore those areas, and let them know that it's okay to explore what feels good is a very simple but effective part of what we do. As we get older, we've got hip replacements, we've got knee replacements. It doesn't feel good. We can't have sex like we used to in the positions that we used to. So we need to find a position that gives us comfort. Maybe that's snuggling like spoons. Maybe that's the way we ought to do that now. Maybe it's finding a position where there's propped up with pillows. But you have to explore. And if you have a little bit of adventure in you, I think you can find this easier. Now, I think the next topic, tasteful erotic material. Well, I can just say 50 Shades of Grey right there, because now that's taken over that category. And another bank of slides I have, a talk I give, all I put on this whole slide is 50 Shades of Grey. Almost enough said. But we need to incorporate, and I'm not trying to push somebody for whom that's a little bit uncomfortable, but we need to push our envelope of what is considered initiative of desire. We need to find out what makes us want to have desire, and by exploring these things, and let's face it, ladies, you have fantasies too. We know we guys have more, but ladies have fantasies too. So you can't tell us you're not having them, so go with them. Don't turn them off. Don't turn them off for the laundry list or whatever you got to do on your list as first. Let the fantasies go as you get older, because guess what? They're going to start subsiding. So after menopause, studies have shown that the number of fantasies per day in a woman goes down substantially. So I tell women, don't ignore them. If you're looking at the guy in the next car at a stoplight, well, just stare at him. Maybe wink at him. Do whatever you think you need to do to turn on those juices. And don't ignore him and look straight ahead like you did when the kids were in the car crying when you were younger. Sexually enhancing products. Okay. Again, this is a comfort level. But Dr. Francis and I are firm believers in doing things that help, because many times we need more stimulation. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about like vibrators, okay? For a lot of women, they're just not able to have an orgasm without vibratory stimulation. And in order to get something that helps enhance the sexual response, many times we have to get them vibratory stimulation so they can find again how to find their orgasm, and then they know how to do that afterwards with their partner. So there's some good websites out there that I can leave. I don't want to leave them out there just because some people get offended for these websites. But they're very tasteful. One of them's a little grandma OB-GYN in Milwaukee, and I know her. I met her personally. You know, she looks like she ought to be selling, I don't know, support hose or something like that, as opposed to what she sells on her website. But let me tell you, her website will get your juices flowing. And then going to see somebody professionally if you're not making a connection. So the Eros is a clitoral vacuum device. Much like I told you there's a male vacuum device, there's a clitoral vacuum device too. I haven't prescribed one in many years because I haven't found it that effective. But it's the only FDA approved. It's the only thing I can write a prescription for women right now. There are new medicines being researched. Our annual meeting for female sexual medicine is coming up in a couple weeks. I'm sure I'll get an update about what's out there. But on the horizon, there are some things. but a couple of drugs failed, unfortunately, and so we're still sort of searching for that pink Viagra. Now, we do use Viagra, Levitra, and Cialis in women, some, those that have arousal disorder, those that are having a difficulty with their sexual response in their genitalia. And for some women with orgasmic disorder, we can help them get an orgasm by using low doses of these medications. Testosterone is important in women. Testosterone is the hormone of desire in both men and women, and studies have shown that even testosterone by itself in a woman who cannot have estrogens is important in order to have sexual desire. But the combination of testosterone and estrogen is much better than either hormone alone. This is a gel applied at bedtime. You're not going to grow a mustache or start talking like me. It is very safe when given by a doctor and monitored by a doctor. There's also a cream you can put on your forearm every day. You will not transmit it to young children. It is very, very safe. There is a new product that should be released called Libigel. The FDA has approved it. It's just not out on the market yet. So let's talk about what to do when illness is so strong that it really impacts your sexuality. Well, obviously, at the first stages of illness or when illness is causing you to have such pain you can barely move, sex is going to take a backseat to other needs in your life. But also recognize that I give a talk to cancer survivors and to terminal cancer patients about sexuality. And I can guarantee you that terminal illness and sexuality are not something that are mutually exclusive. Many times there's more need at this time for closeness, and the touch can be healing. And I think it's important to talk with your partner about other ways to be close during this time of our lives. Talk. I just said talk. That's the key. In a previous talk, this slide is titled, "What We Have Here is Failure to Communicate." So why do I talk about sex? Early in my career, ladies would come in and they wanted to talk about sex, and it was the "hey doc wait" thing, I call it. I was just about to go out the door, had my foot on the door, handle on the door, and she says, "Hey doc, can I ask you something?" And I roll my eyes, oh no, because I knew it was coming. And I was bad at the beginning of my career. I was not helpful. I stammered. I mean, these were my mom's age. Why were they asking me about sex? I was a young doctor. I didn't want to talk to my mom's age ladies about sex. And I realized that I wasn't doing them a favor. I needed to get educated in this. I needed to get comfortable with talking about this. And so now I realize that that's what every provider owes a woman. And we owe that to you, even if we are not able or capable of doing that to you. We owe you a referral to somebody who can. So we can't read your mind, though. You got to tell us. And you got to tell us in plain language. You got to tell your partner. You got to tell your doctor in plain language so we can help you. Talk about this. Open up about it. Maybe you can get comfortable with it. Maybe you can realize that this is not just something that's happening because of aging. There may be a physical problem. There may be a medical problem. It may be that your estrogen and your testosterone are so low that they're dangerously low and they need to be measured and treated. So after opening up, I can see most of these ladies, I have to give them a double appointment the next time they come in, because then they start having lots of things to talk about. And we talk about this, that, and the other, and we are able to establish a rapport. Now, sometimes they have discomfort talking with a male doctor. I certainly understand that. That's why Dr. Francis is great. She can talk to you female to female. The most important thing is to get help. And use something. Use a book that you bring in your 50 Shades of Grey. Bring in a movie. Bring in a medication that may be bothering your sexuality. Antidepressant. Hey doc, is this affecting me? Start the conversation that way if it's difficult for you to get the conversation started otherwise. So recognize that sexuality as we get older may never be the same, but it can be even more rewarding and fulfilling. We have to find other ways to express our sexuality. And I always tell patients, don't tell me that if you can't have intercourse, you can't have intimacy, you can't have sexuality. I have a couple. She had a hysterectomy and vaginal radiation due to a bad cancer. He had such terrible radiation for cancer surgery that he can never get an erection. But they make love 3 times a week and have the most gratifying sex life of anybody I have ever met. And they're both in their 70s. So don't tell me it can't be done, but just realize, don't stop intimacy. Don't stop sexual activity. Don't stop touching because you can't have intercourse. That's not the Holy Grail anymore. Sometimes it's when we both feel our most energetic. We used to have sex at night when the kids were in bed. Well, now maybe we feel the best first thing in the morning when we've got our energy. That's when we have sex. And recognize that the power of touch is healing. Don't stop touching because you can't have intercourse. We all need to be touched for the rest of our lives. Thank you very much, and I'll entertain any questions now.